Greetings from the History Nation channel. Make sure to follow and thumbs up to stay updated with more content like this. A woman and her child rest amidst the wreckage of Hiroshima soon after a novel airborne weapon was deployed in August 1945. The explosion devastated much of the city and left profound impacts. Music. In 1961, Soviet physician Leonid Rogov achieved a remarkable deed. Confronted with acute inflammation, he conducted an operation to extract his own appendix while stranded at an Antarctic outpost. A massive heap of American bison skulls is recorded from the 1870s. These creatures, once abundant throughout North America, experienced a steep drop in numbers due to overhunting. Rows of trays holding glass eyes are organized in a studio dedicated to crafting artificial ocular implants. These artificial eyes are handmade with intricate details that replicate the iris, luster, and color of human eyes, assisting those who have lost their vision. Two men work on making a death mask in New York around 1908. These masks, made directly from a person's face after their death, were used to preserve their likeness. Music. A Chinese woman with bound feet is photographed at the end of the 19th century. The practice, which lasted for centuries, involved shaping the feet to make them exceptionally small, viewed as ideal in certain social contexts of the era. A woman is confined inside a wooden box in Mongolia in 1913 as part of a traditional punishment method used at that time. The practice involved restraining the individual for several days, often in harsh conditions. Music. In the 1920s, hundreds of young women worked in watch factories painting clock hands with radium-based paint. The continuous exposure to this substance, unaware of the dangers, led to severe health issues over time. A man tests the Brewster body shield, the first body armor developed in the United States during World War I. Made of chromium-nickel steel and weighing up to 40 pounds, it was designed to protect against gunfire on the battlefield. Did you know that the character Shrek was inspired by a real person? Maurice Tillet, a French wrestler from the 1940s, had his appearance changed by a rare condition that affected the growth of various body parts. Harriet Cole, a hospital worker, donated her body to science in 1888. After her death, Dr. Rufus B. Weaver performed the complete preservation of her nervous system, an unprecedented feat at the time. Enos the chimpanzee prepares to enter the Mercury Atlas V spacecraft on November 29, 1961. He became the first primate to complete an orbit around the Earth, assisting NASA in testing systems before sending human astronauts. A driver in China poses for a photo wearing the kangwei, a wooden device used as punishment for offenses such as speeding. From 1940 to 1944, Corrie ten Boom and her family turned their house in Haarlem, the Netherlands, into a refuge for persecuted individuals. The hidden area above the family store was used to shelter about 800 fugitives. In 1930 in London, an unusual competition was held, the ankle contest. A police officer was appointed as a judge to choose the most beautiful ankle among the contestants. In 1865, a street vendor is photographed selling mummies near the pyramids of Egypt. During the height of Egyptomania, relic trading was widespread, driven by the demand from European collectors. In 1865, a street vendor is photographed selling mummies near the pyramids of Egypt. During the height of Egyptomania, relic trading was widespread, driven by the demand from European collectors. Workers sculpt George Washington's face on Mount Rushmore in 1932. Located in South Dakota, the monument honors key leaders in U.S. history. Around 2 million people participated in the Baltic Way on August 23, 1989. The participants held hands and formed a continuous line about 375 miles long, linking the capitals of Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania. In 1917, two English cousins, Elsie Wright and Francis Griffiths, took photos of the so-called Cottingley ferries. For decades, the public believed the images were authentic. It wasn't until 1983 that the creators revealed they had staged the photos. The famous photo Dalí Atomicus, created in 1948, was a collaboration between Salvador Dalí and photographer Philippe Holzmann. The image displays objects, water, and cats apparently suspended in the air, capturing Dalí's surrealist style in a visually impressive composition. In 1975, as Northern forces advanced during the last days of the Vietnam War, President Gerald Ford authorized the emergency evacuation of thousands of children from Saigon. On July 25, 2000, Air France flight Concorde 4590 encountered a failure shortly after takeoff in Paris, resulting in a tragic crash. The Concorde, in service since 1976, was famous for its speed and innovation in aviation. A knocker-up does his job in London in 1929. Using a long stick, his role was to wake people by tapping on windows or doors prior to the widespread use of alarm clocks. A soldier assists a boy in crossing the Berlin Wall in 1961. The construction of the wall divided the city into two sections, the east and the west. John Mice, a German-American farmer in the United States, displays the injuries he sustained in 1918 after being attacked amidst the atmosphere of intolerance during World War I. George McLaurin was the first African-American student admitted to the University of Oklahoma in 1948, after winning a legal case. Music. During World War II, special masks were created to protect babies in case of an emergency involving chemical agents. Charles Ebbets, the photographer behind the famous lunch atop a skyscraper image, captures workers on a steel beam during construction. 11 workers take a lunch break sitting on a steel beam during the construction of the Rockefeller Center in New York in 1932. Between 1918 and 1920, the influenza pandemic spread across multiple countries, affecting approximately a third of the world's population. To prevent its spread, mask-wearing was adopted in various cities. Around 1921, Washington, D.C., saw an increase in traffic accidents, reflecting the growing popularity of automobiles in major cities. The 1920s marked the beginning of the automobile era as an affordable means of transport. On September 3, 1967, Sweden officially switched the side of driving on roads from left to right. The event, known as Dagen H, was intended to improve safety and ease integration with neighboring countries. The ship Endurance is pictured trapped in the Antarctic ice in 1915. It was part of the Trans-Antarctic expedition led by Ernest Shackleton. Jacob White-Eyes, Iron Tail, and Buffalo Bill Cody are pictured at a cafe in Rome during a tour of the Wild West show in 1890. In April 1926, a uniformed group marched down the main street of Canyon City, Colorado, and posed for a photograph at an amusement park. Music. Members of the Young Pioneers, a youth organization of the Soviet government, wear protective masks during a simulated exercise on the outskirts of Leningrad in 1937. These activities were part of civic education for young people during that period. In 1906, San Francisco was hit by a major earthquake followed by fires that caused extensive destruction. Music. Nikola Tesla is pictured sitting next to his amplification transmitter in 1899 at the Colorado Springs Laboratory. This equipment, an advanced version of Tesla's coil, was developed for experiments with wireless energy. The Montparnasse train station accident in Paris happened on October 22, 1895. An express train went past the station limits, crashed through a wall, and fell from the second floor onto the street. A photo taken in Istanbul in 1970 shows a leg contest with a large crowd. The participants wore hoods to ensure that judges evaluated only their legs without any external influences. Music. In the 1920s, the California Alligator Park became a popular attraction in the United States, where visitors interacted with alligators in unusual activities like feeding them directly and even riding on the animals. In 1934, an armored car from the Heimwehr patrolled the streets of Vienna following a period of political instability. The vehicle symbolized the conservative government's response to an attempted coup, aiming to restore order and prevent further conflict. Marie Curie and Pierre Curie are pictured shortly after their marriage in 1895 in France during the Belle Époque. Marie, of Polish origin, was the first woman to receive a Nobel Prize and the only person to win 2 Nobel Prizes in different scientific fields, physics and chemistry. On April 17, 1928, the Michelin Hour premiered on U.S. radio as a new form of sponsored entertainment. The company's orchestra performed in costumes inspired by the brand's iconic mascot, creating an original spectacle for the audience. Mary Wallace became the first female bus driver for the Chicago Transit Authority in 1974. Her accomplishment took place during a time of significant movement for equal opportunities. A parade held in New York in 1974 marked one of the first editions of the Pride Parade in the city. These events began occurring annually after the Stonewall riots in 1969, representing a significant milestone in the fight for respect and equality. 2 women walked down a street in Kabul, Afghanistan, during the 1970s. The country was undergoing a period of modernization with more women in schools, universities, and the workforce, particularly in urban areas. In the 1950s, some women wore protective sun masks with unusual designs. The purpose was to shield the skin from sunspots and premature aging caused by UV exposure. In 1904, rat catchers worked in the streets of European cities to control the spread of rats. This task was deemed essential for public health, and the workers often showed the day's catch as proof of their effectiveness. In 1890, prosthetics were made from wood, leather, and metal. Even at this early stage, these pieces aimed to restore autonomy to those who had lost limbs for various reasons, marking the beginning of advancements in prosthetic technology. An engineer operates an IBM computer in 1958. Back then, computers filled entire rooms and ran on vacuum tubes and punched cards. At 10 years old, Sarah Rector was granted 160 acres in Oklahoma in 1913. Initially considered unproductive, the land was found to be rich in oil, making Sarah one of the first black women to gain significant wealth in the United States. Niagara Falls is shown partially frozen during the harsh winter of 1883. Extremely low temperatures caused this rare phenomenon, creating an impressive landscape that was photographed at the time. The Eiffel Tower is photographed during its construction in July 1888. The image shows the base and the first sections of the structure being assembled with cranes. Inaugurated in 1889, it would become the iconic symbol of Paris. A Queen's Guard faints while the others stand at attention in London in 1966. Known for their discipline and immobility under extreme conditions, these guards endure long periods of standing. Princess Diana takes part in a mother's race at a school event for Prince William in the 1980s. Her casual, spontaneous demeanor and closeness with the public stood in contrast to the formal customs of the British royal family. Reporters cover President Richard Nixon's resignation in 1974. The event marked the end of a series of investigations initiated after the break-in at the Democratic National Committee headquarters in 1972. A spacesuit prototype is tested in the Mojave Desert, California, during the 1960s. These tests were part of preparations for NASA's Apollo program, which focused on lunar exploration. Miners work at Serra Pelada in the state of Pará, Brazil, during the 1980s. The location became one of the world's largest open-pit gold mines, drawing thousands of people seeking gold. A curious photograph taken in the 20th century. On May 8, 1941, at LaGuardia Airport in New York, TWA mechanics and inspectors are pictured wearing propeller caps on their heads during spring inspections of airplanes. On January 10, 1946, a Sikorsky RF-5 helicopter conducts an aerial test in Bridgeport, Connecticut, carrying 17 people and the pilot. The test aimed to showcase its transport capacity and set new altitude and speed records with a load. In the summer of 1933, Al Khan was fishing off the coast of New Jersey when he caught a manta ray measuring over 6 meters long and weighing about 2,300 kilograms. The catch required hours of effort with assistance from the Coast Guard. The punt gun appeared in the early 1800s to meet the large demand for waterfowl. With the ability to hit dozens of animals in one shot, its use was limited due to the impact it had on bird populations. The North End neighborhood of Boston was partly destroyed after a storage tank collapsed on January 15, 1919, releasing millions of gallons of molasses into the streets. French neurologist Guillaume Duchenne studied facial expressions around the mid-19th century. By using electrical impulses, he researched how various facial muscles were connected to human emotions. On November 14, 1930, two workers take a lunch break sitting on a raised beam during the construction of the Waldorf Astoria Hotel in New York. A photo from 1899, published in the New York Times, shows how Thanksgiving at that time resembled Halloween. Children and adults paraded the streets in elaborate costumes, making the day one of the busiest for mask and accessory sellers in the United States. American soldiers form a human portrait of Woodrow Wilson, the U.S. president during World War I. Belgian coal miners are photographed riding an elevator after a long workday around 1900. Covered in dust, they endured grueling shifts in difficult underground conditions. In 1922, Zach T. Wilcox from Carson City, Nevada, was famous for having one of the longest beards ever recorded. He started growing it in 1881 and kept the habit for more than 40 years. Unusual competitions in the early 20th century included the bee beard, where participants let swarms of bees settle on their faces. Men stand in a long line to receive bread during the Great Depression in the United States between 1929 and the 1930s. The Wild Man's suit, exhibited at the Menil Collection in Houston, Texas, is made of fabric layers reinforced by iron nails pointed outward. Its origin and purpose remain unknown, making it one of the most mysterious costumes ever produced. If you enjoyed this video and want to support the channel, please use the Super Thanks tool below. Your contribution helps us keep bringing you amazing historical content. Thank you so much for your support, and see you in the next video. Music. Why?